Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan, the YouTube channel that is not hosted by a sociopath, a narcissist, or a grifter. No, you got me instead, a music producer, and I studied philosophy back in college, both as a grad and undergrad. And who would have known back in the 90s studying philosophy would be so beneficial for me all these decades later, because it's so easy for me to identify and point out to you guys all the misinformation and flawed reasoning that people like Joe Rogan put out. It's funny, like when Joe sits around with his pro-meat eating anti-vegan buddies like Chris Krueger, yeah, they sure make veganism look so stupid and silly and easily debunkable, which, you know, if they had someone like, say, me or Joey Carbstrong or or that time then they had James Lightning Wilkes on, yeah, veganism survived unscathed that time. So anyway, I'm going to show you what Joe Rogan said here with his little friend, I forgot his name here. We'll just jump right in and we'll see how they debunked veganism.
I think one of the most absurd positions anyone can take is they're a vegan for an ethical reason. It's preposterous. You could do it for a medical reason, even though I don't know what that reason would be. But
well, technically, Joe's little friend here is right. I mean, there's no medical condition that causes a person to have a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation. But you know, that's not what he meant. He's saying there's no medical reason to eat a plant-based, you know, fully plant diet, a vegan diet. And of course there are. Just because this guy is not aware of any reasons doesn't mean that they don't exist. I mean, as you'll see, this guy, he just thinks he's an expert in all these various technical fields, and he's not. He's just like Joe, just some dude that pretends he knows a bunch of stuff he doesn't. It's called the Dunning-Krueger effect. Look it up. I'll put a link down to Wikipedia. I mean, this is well established in the science that a plant-based diet benefits you from not dying from a heart attack. And if we check out this Harvard Global Health website, rather than listen to some idiot friend of Joe's, you'll see here that plant-based diets, pro-vegetarian diets, had an associated decrease in cardiovascular disease risk, cardiovascular disease mortality, and all-cause mortality. On top of that, processed meat is classified as a class 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization. But yeah, Joe's friend is right. Yeah, there's absolutely no medical reason to eat plants and give up eating meat.
But to do it from an ethical reason is absurd. And the reason I say that is I have plowed a field. It is carnage. It is 12 feet of carnage. And every single plant that you eat is going to be tilled into the ground in some capacity. So you're going to kill everything.
How many times do we have to hear the lame combine harvester argument? I'm the one that actually coined that name, the combine harvester argument. I mean, I've been responding and debunking this stupid line of reasoning for like 6-7 years, but no one listens because they keep on repeating it. Let's hear Joe talk a little bit more about this.
Ted Nugent has said this on this podcast. He said, if you want to kill the most things, become a vegan.
I mean, what the F? This makes no sense. So killing animals actually kills fewer animals than not killing animals. I mean, I made a really detailed response video to Ted Nugent's easily disproven nonsense rant here about vegans, and I'll show you a little bit of what he said. And look, he doesn't even know where tofu comes from.
Because the farmers who protect your beans kill everything.
My beans? Like, vegans are only people that consume legumes. Ted never eats them. He only eats meat. And the farmers are killing everything. Let's see where he's going.
In order to grow tofu, you have to kill every ground squirrel, every vole, every shrew, every snake, every turtle, every frog.
I just find it completely disingenuous and hilarious that all these anti-vegan meat eaters claim that they personally drive plows and tractors and have seen firsthand the carnage that happens from all their farm equipment. Yet when we actually look at scientific data, what would you trust more? Some guy that has an agenda or actual data from scientific studies? Well, the studies say something completely different than what these guys say. So in this study, 33 field mice were fitted with radio collars and tracked before and after harvesting. And the researchers found that only 3% of the mice were actually killed by the combine harvester, amounting to 1 mouse. An additional 17 mice were later killed following the harvest by predators such as owls and weasels, possibly due to the loss of cover crop, but it is unknown how many of these mice would have been killed or eaten by owls or weasels anyway. So the bottom line is the researchers concluded that the process of harvesting itself had little direct effect on the mice. And to dispel Ted Nugent's idea that Joe loves so much that eating animals kills fewer animals than eating plants does, let's take a look again at some data rather than listening to some madman's rant. And this paper is a mathematical model based on government statistics, very non-controversial conservative figures used to calculate the number of animals killed to produce 1 million calories in 8 food categories. And no surprise, let's look at the bottom of the graph here. The fewest animals are killed when producing plants, grains, fruits, and vegetables. 0 animals are killed in slaughter, and very few, comparatively, are killed in harvest. When you compare those numbers to pork, beef, eggs, and chicken, it's not even close. Well, let's just suppose, though, somehow magically these studies were complete bogus, and lo and behold, Ted Nugent and Joe's little friend here were totally right that eating meat, killing animals, actually kills fewer animals than eating plants because of all the animals that get ground up in the combine harvester. Well, they're still wrong about killing fewer animals, because the fact of the matter is that humans don't eat the majority of plants that are produced for food. In fact, if you take a look at tofu here, Ted Nugent's farmers growing tofu, it's obvious because fewer than 20% of soy grown actually reaches the mouths of humans. The vast majority, around 80%, is used to feed animals, livestock. So you're still killing more animals to kill more animals. It makes no sense, Ted. So if Ted Nugent and Joe's little friend here were truly concerned about killing the fewest number of animals possible, they would have no choice other than to eat a vegan diet.
If you think that small things aren't as valuable as large things, that's a totally different discussion, and that's a weird discussion. But if you think that all life is sacred.
So this is how Joe and his little friend here debunk veganism, by creating their own personal custom-made definition of veganism as the belief that all life is sacred. First, let's see what the definition of veganism is. From the Vegan Society, this definition goes back to the 1940s. It's a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation. It says nothing here about all life being sacred. But let's ask ChatGPT, is veganism the belief that all life is sacred? And it says no. You might be talking about Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, something like that, but definitely not veganism. So even ChatGPT knows that Joe Rogan is off on his own here, making up his own Joe Rogan custom definition of veganism.
Well, what about the lives of the ground nesting birds, fawns?
Yeah.
What about the lives of rodents, insects? All those things are getting demolished.
So as a philosopher now, let me show you what Joe and other anti-vegans are doing when they make up their own bizarre custom definition of veganism in order to debunk veganism. This is called a straw man argument. They are completely misrepresenting what veganism is in order to make it easier to attack. So Joe's like, all you vegans think all life is sacred, but unbeknownst to you, all the plants you eat were produced using combine harvesters, which ground up all the bugs and little rodents and turtles and everything. So veganism debunked, because you guys are hypocrites.
The average organic avocado farm in Central California is going to kill, on average, around 19,000 ground squirrels a year.
I mean, that's so specific. How does he know this? I mean, if this is something that's truly true, you'd think you'd be able to find this information out. So I searched for what he said there on Google, and all I could find was this one tweet from a person that happened to tweet it in the very month of the filming of this Joe Rogan podcast. So I don't know if Joe's little friend got it from her tweet or she got it from listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, but that's all I could find is one tweet. So I am extremely skeptical of this claim.
That's not counting the billions of bees, because they're going to bring the bees up from Brazil.
The billions of bees argument. He's about 5 years too late, because Piers Morgan beat you to the billions of bees argument.
That literally billions of insects get murdered. Billions of insects get murdered.
And Piers Morgan, just like Joe Rogan and his little friend here, is using a straw man fallacy definition of veganism. Again, this thing that all life is sacred, and you vegans are hypocrites because bees get killed when they pollinate all the plants that all us meat eaters eat as well.
They're going to spray with some organic, which is probably just like compressed cayenne pepper. They're going to spray the trees. They're going to kill every bug, every plant, everything.
Cayenne pepper kills bugs and plants? No, I don't think so, unless you're doing something really extremely crazy. So anyway, now Joe and his little friend here move away from the combine harvester argument and move on to an interesting new way of looking how vegans are horrible hypocrites.
If you look anywhere in the ecosystem, take man out of it. virtually everything is living at the expense of another organism, to the degree that if a certain weed grows up over the grass, it's killing the grass. If the tree grows up, this little sapling grows up over the grass, it's killing the grass. The grass grows up before the weeds, it kills the weeds, kills the flowers, kills this. Everything is in competition with everything else. There is not a vegan fish. There's not a vegetarian fish. Every single fish, every frog, they're eating another organism to survive. Every one of them.
Like, what is he talking about? Yeah, maybe he's right about fish, but there are mammals who don't eat animals. Has he ever heard of herbivores? Again, the guy talks like he's so knowledgeable. He's such an authority, but he just seems like some gym bro or something like that. He's never heard about like what cows eat, rhinos and elephants. They're herbivores. They don't hunt other animals. Stupid.
And that's what we did for as long as, whenever we split from apes, that's what we did. Apes still do it. They talk about, oh, they eat fruit. They eat fruit till they get a hold of those little freaking panzer monkeys. Yeah. They're going to eat the leaves and the fruits and everything till they need that protein.
So bro's a zoologist now too, apparently. No, chimpanzees get most of their protein from plants. It says that they have meat on occasion as a rare luxury item. That's not what they do to fulfill their protein requirements.
That's the real nature. That's not vegan nature. That's not this bullshit utopian artificial paradise that people have created in their mind that they're doing if they're eating vegan. It's just...
No, Joe, the only bullshit going on is your misleading straw man definition of what veganism is.
Unless you're growing all of your own food in your yard, unless you have a contained environment where you're composting and using mulch and you're making sure that everything that you grow, you're picking it yourself, you're just fencing it off to keep squirrels from eating it. If that's not the case, you're involved in murder.
Once again, doing absolutely zero harm in any way is not what veganism is. It's a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation.
But even then, you don't think you're going to have what happens when the grasshoppers come.
Right.
And they'll get through that fence.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, an insect being accidentally harmed in your organic home garden has nothing to do with veganism.
We don't get to exist without another organism fueling our existence.
Right, yet another logical fallacy, the nirvana fallacy or appeal to futility fallacy, saying, hey, we can't exist without doing some harm to some organism. So yeah, if a grasshopper gets harmed in the vegan's home garden, I might as well kill all the cows and pigs and chickens because, hey, it's all the same. Well, let's look at the type of organisms that get harmed. In his life, organisms like this, mammals, are harmed necessarily because he's intentionally slaughtering them. So instead of intentionally killing these living, sentient mammals, let's look at the type of organisms that I require to fuel my existence. Yeah, I'm killing broccoli. I'm killing kale. Oh my God. Yeah, the humanity.
I know. It's such a hard thing for people to accept.
Well, I think it's because they're so dissociated.
Mm-hmm. Dissociated? Well, that's rich. If anyone's dissociated, it's these bros who can't make the distinction between requiring their bodies to be fueled by this versus that.
Of our life.
When you can walk from your condo to Erewhon and buy your $19 almond butter,
yeah,
and never ask yourself. Now, I can tell you exactly right now how much water it takes in a state with no water to make one almond.
Right,
it takes 3 gallons.
So bro thinks he's some kind of farming researcher now. Let's look at some actual data from the University of California, Davis on water use of California crops. Almonds must be one of the biggest ones there. No, those giant lines you see there, forages, alfalfa, those are feed for livestock. Almonds, you have to really hunt around. They're 4th from the top. It's barely like a drop in the bucket compared to livestock feed. Remember, California produces around 98% of our country's entire almond output. So if bro were truly concerned about California's precious drought water, he would have no choice other than to stop eating cows. So yeah, that was pretty much it, guys. Just a bunch of lame straw man fallacies and 2 meat-eating bros waxing each other's carrots about how horrible veganism is. So anyway, guys, leave your questions and comments down below. Hit like, please share this video. And if you're watching this video and feel really offended by what I'm saying, you think I got everything wrong, please come to my Friday live streams, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll see you there. So remember, guys, until I see you guys Friday, doesn't suck being vegan.